take nearly gonna be there. JJoNak, oh man, this takes him down right up in the face of a Bastion. Finds a triple kill as Gino and Arc also fall. Let's go ahead and make it 4. You got more for me, JJoNak. Let's go ahead and say it. Samsung's gonna be dumping the bomb, trying to make it back in, but there it is. Gets him in the face, and NYXL just take the point on the back of JJoNak.
Bunkers busted, Genji's flexed, and Flower returns. All that and more on today's Overwatch League recap.
The second week of Overwatch League would kick off with two teams trying to get back in after a rough first week. Paris Eternal versus the Florida Mayhem, where Paris, coming off a rough 4-0 loss to the Chengdu Hunters, would look to make up the deficit against a still struggling Florida Mayhem.
And Paul, one of the things that comes in here is that Paris Eternal have not been the definition of picture perfect. You know, they take that 0-4 loss, but then had a 4-0 win prior to it. This team has been up and down. So to come in, they need a win right here to sort of cement themselves in this stage as being a competitor.
Well, they started off very much up on Oasis, where despite the best efforts of Sire Player on the McCree, Shadowburn on the Pharah would absolutely decimate the first round of Oasis, and Swan spending a lot of time looking after Cruz on the Lucio wouldn't get much done for Mayhem, as Paris would take Oasis in a 2-0 fashion.
Yeah, I think the only way you could say that is Paris absolutely clapped Mayhem on map number 1. It does not get better in map number 2. You know what? For Paris Eternal, they open up with their attack Gray with a picture-perfect Bionade comes in, and Paris Eternal open up point A.
And Shadowburn back on that signature Genji that we so missed seeing him on, rips that opening wide when we get to point B, and Paris managed to steamroll their way into a full cap.
Place that teams run the bunker compositions, and we're going to see more of it.
That's right, here we go. Nano Boost used. Shadowburn comes in with the Nano Boost and Dragonblade. 3 kills already.
Jeez.
We're reaching peak Shadowburn. And that is Florida Mayhem getting slaughtered again. Gray falls in the process.
And even though Mayhem do cap out on their first run and get a second attempt, things just don't go much better for them. They end up losing Hanamura as well, and heading into the halftime, things have not looked good for the struggling team.
Blizzard World would go better for Paris than it did last week, where they wouldn't get spawn camped straight out the gate. They'd actually get a nice EMP blade combo to completely decimate Florida Mayhem's point A bunker.
Paris, though, would reprise their spawn camping habits as they ended up getting spawn camped again on this map. And, you know, back-to-back weeks, you gotta call it. This is not a good look for this team. Paris, even though that happens, though, they do end up winning out this map, due in no small part to Zephyr continuing to struggle on the Diva.
And although the series would be over in a 3-0 fashion, Florida Mayhem, they wouldn't give up. They do come back when we get to watch Point Gibraltar, and off some nice main tank play from Swan finally, and an interesting pirate ship, they do end up getting themselves one map in the series.
Paris, they in the mirror composition in the 3-3, they look pretty strong, but as soon as you throw a wrench in the works, it feels like they stop being able to think. They end up struggling a ton against the Bastion composition. Florida take their first and only map of the set.
Second match of the day, New York Excelsior versus the Washington Justice. While most people certainly expected a lot from the New York Excelsior coming into this match, what wasn't expected is them bringing Flower into his Overwatch League debut today.
Washington Justice, keeping with the theme of unexpected, hoping to take a map and hopefully the match in an unlikely fashion over the NYXL here today.
But it wouldn't start off that way, as we went to Lijiang Tower for our very first map. Nene on the Roadhog, interestingly enough, would give Washington Justice a lot of problems on that first round of Gardens, and even more as he seemed to play a bit of Mystery Heroes once we got to Night Market.
And on Night Market, the shenanigans didn't stop. At one point in time, Washington Justice in a 6v3. Corey with the 3 pickoffs back to back to back. His team just can't close it out. Mono, the ever-present Winston, really helping NYXL. They can't keep getting away with this, Paul, but yet they still manage to do it. And NYXL, despite all evidence to the contrary, end up taking Night Market and therefore the map 2-0.
Well, and they get away with a lot more as we head over on to Hanamura. JJoNak, you know, there's been a lot of talk in the past few weeks about rising flex supports like Twilight and Shu, and I think it angered JJoNak because we got onto Hanamura and he just murdered everything and everyone. Look at this man. He's insane.
Second tick nearly gonna be there. JJoNak, oh man, just takes him down right up in the face of a Bastion. Finds a triple kill as Gino and Arc also fall. Let's go ahead and make it 4. You got more for me, JJoNak. Let's go ahead and say it. Sansum's gonna be dumping the bomb, trying to make it back in, but there it is. Gets him in the face, and NYXL just take the point on the back of JJoNak.
I think it's fair to say that JJoNak might actually be smurfing in tier 1 play. The man has had absolutely no contest at that flex support position for the last 2 seasons. And even with, as you mentioned, the new talent coming into the league, it has still been an absolute clinic by the Zen player. Fantastic work from NYXL and helps him, not only destroy Washington and Time Bank, they end up helping them take Hanamura as well, holding them on second for the 2-1 victory.
The momentum wouldn't stop there for the New York Excelsior either. Eichenwald would be a dominant showing from them as well, despite a cute bunker comp on point A that had worked for Washington Justice in the past with relative success. JJoNak with a single anti-nade would end their hopes of holding point A, and from there New York just steamroll through the map.
Turns out JJoNak still very good on not Zen. Surprisingly, talent carries over from character to character, so JJoNak helping the NYXL and Washington Justice. Relative is indeed the term because NYXL is not a relative team, and they end up doing a fantastic job, as you mentioned, taking the victory here as well. And for Washington Justice, the indignity does not stop there. They had a rather embarrassing C9 at the end of the map as well, and Sansam a single Brig EMP. Never something you want to see, and Washington Justice end up losing the series out here, but we still have a map 4. Unfortunately, a little bit more of the same as this match ends in a 4-0. Onwards and upwards for the NYXL and for the Washington Justice, still searching for that first win this stage.
The third match of the day would be a rematch of the Stage 1 semifinals. Vancouver Titans versus the Seoul Dynasty. Vancouver still undefeated in the Overwatch League, and Seoul Dynasty looking to put an end to that streak.
Map number 1 would not be the place they start, though, as Busan very, very heavily in the Vancouver Titans' favor. Vancouver Titans have been such a strong roster for such a long time, Paul, and they continue to show why. Here up against the Seoul Dynasty, the Dynasty look lost, unable to even complete a single stage on this map, and Vancouver Titans, a very easy win on Busan, including some fantastic Ana play from Twilight.
Yeah, Twilight out here making us all forget why people even run Zen Goats nowadays rather than the Ana Goats, right? Gets sick bios while there's a diva sitting right there. Michelle couldn't do anything against this guy, and it showed.
Heading into Anubis, and hey, surprise look at the new Seoul roster. No Fissure to be found. Marvel continues to start in that main tank position, so Seoul changing things up a little bit, hoping for a little breath of life against the dominant Vancouver team, but even still, not happening.
Seoul did come out with a bit of better coordination on map 2 from map 1 though. They managed to pull off some sick combinations. They had one on the bumper where he got slept, then naded, hacked, and focused fired all in one short burst, but it just wasn't enough to eke out a win.
Yeah, Bumper not allowed to play the game, but in return, Vancouver Titans, they block out Marvel and none of Seoul can get to the point, so Temple of Anubis yet again ending with Vancouver Titans with the victory.
Seoul Dynasty on defense, so guess who's going to take that mirror matchup every time, because they're the best in the league at it. It's going to be the Vancouver Titans.
Oh, you didn't even give me a chance to answer.
Sorry.
I would have said that, though.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Toby down already. I mean, this is exactly what we saw in that playoff match, where the Titans just kind of steamroll over the Seoul Dynasty. Seoul Dynasty just does not seem to respond well to teams just running at them.
I mean, also,
especially the Titans.
Also, stop the incoming damage.
Yep. Zomansu just running right back in with the Graviton Surge. Fits down already. Bumper decided to take more for a ride.
I like how Bumper charged it one way and they immediately came back on the screen the other direction.
Vancouver Titans up on their mountaintop would snowball down as well and continue to just dominate Seoul on Eichenwald. Bumper hitting shatters left and right, up and down, completely denying Seoul from even playing the video game.
Yeah, that being said, map number 4, Rialto, and all of a sudden Bumper, his hyper-aggression taken full advantage of by the Seoul Dynasty. They managed to hold them on third and take their win of the series. It's not enough to make a victory in the match, but a map is good enough for them. And though they end up dropping here that one map, Vancouver Titans, they do take the victory 3-1.
And Seoul do get a chance at a rematch later this stage against the Vancouver Titans, so maybe next time they'll figure out Focus Bumper before map number 4.
Match number 4 of the night features a team from my neck of the woods, the Toronto Defiant, versus the Philadelphia Fusion. And here we have two mid-table teams trying to really cement themselves as playoff hopefuls. Busan would be our playground.
Yeah, it would be a playground for the Philadelphia Fusion as they would come out of the gate swinging. Both of these teams fighting neck and neck all map long, back and forth, 99-99 on both stages. But despite some nice Sombra play coming out from Envy, it would be the Philadelphia Fusion taking Busan 2-0.
Ultimate Economy is going to be the name of the game in this match. Keep an eye out for it because it's coming to play later on down in the series. That being said, we head into map number 2. Paris would be that second map, and early on, EQO getting to flex that DPS starts off on the Pharah.
But the Pharah wasn't able to contain Toronto's Furiosity. They managed to cap with a decent time bank, but Philly do the same, and yet again, it's a neck and neck fight here on Paris.
We head to Time Bank and Toronto Defiant. They capture point A, head to point B, and sets the stage for some heroics from I'm 37.
Yeah, we knew that this man's favorite hero was Widowmaker, but you'd think he was playing it while playing Brigitte at the same time. Man somehow spots out Carpe, who has the EMP up twice while Carpe is invisible, whip shots him away from Toronto, and gives his team the opportunity to cap that second point yet again.
Defense. So we'll probably see a swap from Carpe after this EMP is used.
Really good checking there.
Roki needs to make sure he does not get caught by this, or Philadelphia Fusion can win this fight with just one ult, and that would be amazing for their economy.
Carpe still pushing his way into the back. Gonna be looking for one of those 6-man EMPs. Again, just getting hit. 37 tracking him, but now the EMP will be coming through. 3 members gonna be called.
And with that double cap, now comes the time. Toronto, they want to even up the series here. Remember that. They give up point A, but not before eking some time off the clock. And after a lengthy defense on point B, we head to the final fight. Ultimate Economy across the board about even. Toronto Defiant, Philadelphia Fusion, they're running into the same abilities. And Envy, on the spot, uses that defense matrix and cleans it all up for Toronto. And Toronto Defiant, they end up taking the map and evening it up.
Toronto would look to snowball that momentum heading into Blizzard World, and it would start off pretty well for them as Ivy on the Genji would shut down Philly's point A defense not once, but twice, with some absolutely insane mechanical skill.
We said Genji wasn't back, but damn if Ivy doesn't disagree with us. The man knows how to play the ninja, and they do take that point A and point B eventually, but unfortunately, it all came to a halt on point C as they end up getting stopped just shy of that capture. Philadelphia Fusion then heading to the attack, and I think we can define Philadelphia as, chaotic in how they approached it.
It was definitely a chaotic defense that bought a lot of time off the clock, but their attack was much more directional. They found out that Ivy was really the player on the roster that they had to worry about, and they focused him hard, completely bullying the poor man to where he had to desperately throw grabs into defense matrices, and it didn't work out for him.
It really didn't, and Philadelphia Fusion, they'd continue that. They end up closing out Blizzard World with the full cap, having relatively rolled through it on their offense, and that brings us into map 4. Toronto Defiant with a chance to even up the series and take us into map number 5.
Toronto would look a little bit more timid coming into Rialto, though. They wouldn't quite aggress as hard as they did previously, and it would cost them. Despite some very questionable transcendences coming out from Boombox more than once throughout the map, it would ultimately be Toronto being held pretty early on into that third point.
Toronto, their turn on defense, and they would start off with a bunker comp that was short-lived, but at least highlight-worthy as they come in. I'm 37 on the Bastion, finding a couple of kills for himself, and make it look pretty good. Unfortunately, they do give up that first point, and Philadelphia Fusion end up rolling their way through the rest of the map, taking the victory and taking the series 3-1. That's all for Thursday's games. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like the content. If you had any concerns, leave a comment. We're always looking to improve. And make sure to come back tomorrow for Friday's recap. And for more Overwatch League content, stay tuned to Elo Hell Esports.